And hi everybody, it's Tim Reazor with Revere Asset Management just before 3:30 here on a Wednesday night. So quickly, Steiners, market lovers, before we begin, look, I need to get right into it because today was a victory for the Bulls. We'll call it VB Day. I want to show you the targets to which I think the market could be headed. Now, look, today's but one day in the market. It's market, as you know, anything can happen with the volatility. You know, you go one day to the next. But let me show you why I think today was a victory for the Bulls. And you might be saying, Tim, I followed the market today. The market was down 1%. S&Ps were down 1%. It doesn't look like that great of a day. As a matter of fact, Tim, markets seemed to gap and then went ahead higher. They tried again, and then they just completely rolled over, like from 41.50-ish, 41.60-ish. Goes, that doesn't sound like a victory to me, Tim, but let me show you this. So let's take a gander here at the Turks. Oops, T-I-C-K, there we go. So when I'm looking at the ticks, you need to see this because this is some heavy incoming fire that the Bears were firing at bulls all day. I mean, tremendous. And so let's take a gander here and look. So I have thousands to the bottom and the upside ticked off here, and in here somewhere is the zero line. Okay, so when you get real buying or real selling, it starts at 800 to 1,000, whether it's to the upside or the downside. And so you can see here we had some big ticks to the downside to kind of start the day. Here's Wednesday. There's half hour into the day, and then mid-morning Central Time. Right? I mean, this is minus 1,400. These are some of the lowest ticks of the year. I mean, tremendous selling. Someone got liquidated. Like that is somebody had was on the wrong side of a trade, and the hand of the liquidation team from one of the big firms came over and said sell. And you're like, well, Tim, how do you know that? You don't know that, but that's a huge liquidation break. Throwing out good with bad. Okay, like that's kind of what those big ticks are the hallmark of. Super interesting. And then, so let me show you now. Let me go back to the S&P chart here, and we'll look at SPX. And I don't think it helps to look at it on a normal chart with moving averages. Like you're all familiar with my charts, 5, 8, 21, 34, 50, and 200-day moving averages. I think what helps here is to look at it on this chart. And so we're on SPX. Okay, and we're on an ATR chart. And so, well, Tim, why the ATR chart? You're going to see the moving averages are like, well, there's some overhang up there. And I'm like, yeah, there is. But I think it helps to just look at price, not moving averages. Everything is just lines on the chart. And this chart here, although there are lines on it, is more centered around price. And so, well, let's just see on this really no good, very bad day, right? Down 1%. What the market did. Here is the 21 exponential moving average, or the mean. This is +1, +2, and +3 ATR. To the downside, you have -1, -2, and -3. And the S&Ps traverse daily about almost 90 points, 88 points, almost 90. Today, so they're traveling. So just to give you an example here, the market moved, the S&Ps moved almost 45 points for just a little over %. So the market didn't go up. The range was wide, but the market didn't exceed the ATR, and the market to the upside or the downside. It finished neutral inside of the ATR after experiencing minus 1,400 to the downside selling on ticks to end up within the ATR, not in an extreme range, not at the lows of the day. Do you know what a tremendous fight that was for the Bulls? You know, they might have lost a skirmish or two, but they didn't lose the battle today. You know, like they fought valiantly. Or maybe they lost a battle, they didn't lose the war. Whatever the analogy is, you get what I'm saying. That's impressive. Like we didn't take out today on, by the way, we didn't hit this low on minus 1,400 ticks on expedited selling, somebody hitting the liquidate button from yesterday. No, sir. And what you end up with here is, look, it's inside of that candle. That to me is a little bit bullish. Whether it plays out bullishly or not, it's a completely different story. But today, believe it or not, was a victory for the bulls. And that's just the S&Ps. And then let me put up the old NDX, the NASDAQ 100 index. I mean, same thing. And so I find this, if you're a bear and you didn't get the job done today, you're like, what is it going to take? Again, we threw at the bulls today. You know, there was that cartoon from a long time ago, Foghorn Leghorn and that dog, like they would get after it every day, right? And I don't think I can draw a Foghorn Leghorn, but you know, I mean, if you just Google them. And so, I mean, Foghorn Leghorn comes after the dog with minus 1,400 ticks, and he could only get an inside day today. Look at the NASDAQ, only down 0.75%, not as bad as the S&Ps. We're going to talk about that in a moment. And I mean, Foghorn Leghorn just, I mean, got a bazooka out with minus 1,400 ticks, and it didn't do the job. And so maybe now it's the bulls' turn ahead of CPI data. We'll see what tomorrow brings. Friday, some CPI data. Tomorrow's just jobless claims and whatnot. I believe Europe has some rate stuff, but look, this is a super tight wound market, but I believe whatever the move is, and I'm not telling you the move is going to be up. I'm telling you that today was a victory for the bulls, but tomorrow's another day. This is a super tight range. The S&P chart and the NASDAQ chart look very similar, and whichever side breaks up or down, it's going to be violent to that side. Now I'm going to tell you, in my world, I want it to break up. Well, why is that? I think you'll get a powerful move from here because it's kind of what's unexpected, right? It's been a lot of bad news, and I'm a fan of the markets. I'm not a bull nor a bear. I'm just interpreting information. I'm telling you, you'll probably get a more explosive panic buying move than if it breaks to the downside, where you probably come here and retest recent lows. So, and I'll show you where I think it's going to head to here in a second. But super interesting day. Again, 1,400 ticks, right? And look at this, the VIX, the cash VIX, people's VIX, the VIX that I swear to you, for everyone who says the word VIX, there's another person who has no idea how to use it. And so, yeah, down. But the markets were down today. How can the VIX be down, right? And I'll show you at the end of this, at the very end of this video, I'm going to show you what this market hinges on. It's 2 charts, okay? And I'll show it to you. Don't let me forget. And so, and then if we type in here, well, Tim, that's the cash VIX, the people's VIX, the VIX like that would give you the atomic elbow off the top rope if it was in the WWE. Show me the real VIX, you know, the Greco-Roman VIX, the VIX futures, if you would. Right here they are. And look, they weren't gangbusters either. Coming off at the end, you know, here's the daily chart. Let me show you a 5-minute chart. Coming off at the end of the day, 5-minute chart, up higher, but you know, markets, yeah, markets. For some reason, doesn't matter what, and people will try to attach a reason. I think you need to let go of that logic, and you need to accept price. For some reason, this market didn't close at the lows, and it had every opportunity to do so. And I think that's what you want to take away from here. So what about some price targets? Oh, let me show you this too. Real interesting. Let me go back to it just one more time. What did SPX do today? Down 1%. What did the NDX do today? The NASDAQ 100 down 0.75%. And let me show you this. Let me go to MarketWatch. And you're going to be, I think this is going to be a surprise. You're looking at a heat map, folks. And so if I take the mouse over Microsoft, you can see it was down 0.75%, Apple down 0.5%, Google flat. So that's NASDAQ 100, right? But if we go to communication services, Google, I mean, market was down, Google's flat. Facebook, now Meta, I believe the ticker symbol changed, up 0.5%. NetEase, Charter, EA, down, ATVI down, Netflix up over 2%. And then what I find, where'd my mouse go? What I find, like we can go through all of them, right? We don't need to. There's consumer discretionary, healthcare. This is the thing that I find interesting, and you should too. Now, maybe it's deflationary, right? With the Target news and whatnot. But let me show you that you would think Well, the staples, people are not going to stop drinking Pepsi, or they're not going to stop buying Tide and everything else, Crest toothpaste that Procter & Gamble makes. There's Colgate, right? But all these are down. And you can see what's in this because it's deflationary. There's too much supply in the system. But what led today? What gave the NASDAQ 100 an edge over the S&P 500, right? Yeah, it's some tech names, right? How about Tesla was even up today, right? Where's Tesla? Up over 1.25%. That's a victory, folks. And so, yeah, those are bullish things. Look at consumer staples here. Consumer staples in the NASDAQ world. Mondelez. Kraft Heinz was green there, but look at these. Healthcare, the industrials. Okay, well, you can shape the narrative to anything you want, but the riskier, the one that's taken the beating this year, the NASDAQ 100 was ahead of the S&P 500 today, and the bears shot a very large bazooka at the bulls, and the bulls took the hit. So there is some resiliency to this market, and I think you should acknowledge it. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to go to highs. What I think is you should look at some realistic targets. So let's do that. Let's look at SPY. And so when I put SPY in here, let me get this to a daily chart. Maybe it'll bring up my fib work. Yeah, there we go. And so when I look at SPY here, I just take a recent high to a recent low, some fib work. I guess I could extend it out a little bit. Matter of fact, let's do it live, right? Let's remove it. I should have redrew this. So we'll remove the drawing. I've got it selected. Let's do it together, folks. And so we'll take it down to this low. So where might S&Ps head to? Yeah, like if you can break out of this 1 ATR band, I don't think you've got, this is 10 points higher, right? You go 10 points higher after the day, that's going to feel like a big victory. If you break through 421, 430 is your next gate. Like, Tim, this market can't do that. Have you heard the bad news? Listen, I have brought you all the bad news, okay? So today, maybe you start making that move towards this 421 gate. And look, that's still, this is just a recent high to recent low, right? This is like what, the beginning of April to the towards the end of May. Here we are sitting in June in this consolidation zone. And so maybe we break up here and we try to test the 50% level of that high of that move. That would make sense. If we can break through there, then 430 is your next gate. Well, what about the Qs, Tim? You said they were stronger today. I did. And so here we go. Let's see. I do have this one drawn properly. 326. You're currently at 307. It seems preposterous, right? And so you break it. If you break out of here, I think that's your target, right? This +2 ATR. But none of this has to happen. We could very well tomorrow if you break this zone to the downside, you're coming down here. And I think you want to acknowledge that as well. So I know I'm telling you the bulls had a victory today, but look, this is still very relevant down here. And you're like, well, Tim, what is the chance that this could happen? Well, I don't think I can put it on a percentage basis for you, but I can show you two indices that have already done what I described. Yeah, so let's look at the Dow. The Dow, yeah, not as strong today as the NASDAQ. Has already hit this level. You see how it's consolidating here? So I suspect if the two prior indices that we talked about make a move higher, that this will try to get somewhere up in the zone here, perhaps. And so, and then the small caps have already done the small caps have already done what I described for the S&Ps and the NASDAQ. Now, does that mean the S&Ps and the NASDAQ have fall? No, by no means it does not. And I'll show you now what I believe this entire market hinges on, the dollar, the XY. So before I show you the dollar, let me show you SPY one more time and what time it broke down today. So here's a 5-minute chart, okay? And I think it behooves you to be watching the dollar during the day, if you're able to. Okay, so here is 855, it kind of peaks, it comes off, but the dollar reasserts itself around 1040, okay? Okay, oh, that's SPY, I'm sorry, pardon me. SPY tries again, at 1040, but then breaks down. So just keep in mind 1040, okay? Or 855, 1040, 855. Let's look at the dollar right now as I try not to, pardon me for sneezing and not covering the microphone. Look at the dollar spike up to start the day with the S&Ps and Nasdaq do. Yeah, they sold off. But then look at what happens around 1030, 1040. The dollar finds a short-term bottom and then starts making its way higher. And then what happened to the markets at that same time? They were getting crushed. And so this is a dollar market. And so, well, where are we in time and space? Because I think that's important to understand, to have situational awareness to the markets. So I suspect that the dollar, which did not get as high as yesterday, super interesting, okay, that if the dollar can start to ebb lower, back down to this -1 ATR, you'll see equities do that. And coinciding with that, you'll also see what? Yields come off, and yields were up again today, 2%. And so the TNX, so now the 10-year treasury is 3.02, right? 3.029, if you want to be precise. And is this where the TNX has an opportunity to potentially drift back to the mean? And if the dollar drifts lower and the TNX drifts lower, you'll most likely see the S&Ps and the NASDAQ make that move up into those ranges. And then after that, it's anybody's ballgame. So hopefully that helps. Hopefully it provides a little bit of clarity to today's action. I'll have the podcast with you with the fellas on Friday. It's going to be a good time. Hope you join us. Oh, I never showed it to you. You know what? I meant to do that. And so let me show you this real quickly. If you want to listen to the podcast, we cover a lot of things in this week. So it's been well received. I know that because y'all write to me and I appreciate it. Tesla super bad on easy summer. I think it behooves you to do that and listen. If you have any questions with what I said, take umbrage with anything that I mentioned. All you have to do is reach out to us right here at Revere Asset. Scroll all the way down, go to About, Strategy, and there we are. There's Don. Right there, there's Danny, America's Fiduciary. There I am. There's Hunter. If you have any questions about the portfolios, what goes in the watch list, what comes off the watch list, buys and sells, Don and Hunter handle all of that, and they were more than happy to engage with you. And if you want to talk to them, just email them, hit them up on Twitter. If you want to find me on Twitter, I have a lot of folks that reach out to me on Twitter at TJ Reazor is how you get a hold of me. My DMs are open, so you don't have to follow me. You can just send me a quick text message, and it works super duper well that way. And if you have any questions, please just give us a call at 855 Real Wealth. And with that, I will see you at the next update.